Fiio has always been the de facto brand, selling an insanely wide range of products from ultra-budget beaters to high-end audio products, covering all segments, creating new ones where they do not exist. In fact, one of my first DAP was the Fiio X1 many moons ago. So they started off with DAPs and amplifiers and later moved on to things such as IEMs, headphones, and now all sort of accessories and audio products, including a CD player. So naturally, with such a diverse lineup of releases, some are really great while some are inevitably not so great. Let's take a look at their first planar IEM release, the FP3. Priced at under $90 US, it's a mega value proposition for those interested in a planar IEM. However, they are a little late to capitalize on this segment as there have been several planar budget IEMs already in this price range, such as the Soundnotes Dokyo, Moondrop's Stellaris, and at a stretch, the 7Hz Timeless 2. They all similarly use a 14.5mm planar driver, sharing similarities in sound, but with some slight differences still. Kicking things off with an unboxing, like most Fiio products, it comes fairly well packaged with a magnetic folding cover. The packaging undoubtedly leverages years of Fiio experience on serving customers a really nice unboxing experience. Opening the box reveals the IEM in a foam cutout showcasing the walnut faceplate. The IEM sitting snugly in the box. Just below that is the accessory box featuring a very interesting hard acrylic drawer style storage box, which looks like it can be stacked with other boxes of the same size and shape, Lego style. The case is very strong and sturdy, but not necessarily one that will be suitable for portable use. It's nice and novel, but definitely more suited for a desktop storage, tabletop storage option thingy. Ear tips provided are pretty standard, nothing too special at this price, though I wouldn't expect it to be as well. Overall, the accessories that come with the FP3 are nice, but the odd design choice of the carrying case is something that I am not particularly hot about. Next up, build quality. The build quality of the FP3 is rather conflicting. On one hand, it looks pretty cheap on first glance. The wood is extremely glossy and, well, they are using real wood. The finish makes it seem a bit plastic, kind of like veneer imitating wood rather than real wood itself. Surrounding the wood faceplate is a metal band that is chrome and looks kinda cheap and tacky. The inner half of the shell is also just standard resin, nothing that shouts too premium. It feels kinda like cheap plastic. It's like an attempt to be premium feeling using nice materials but achieves the complete opposite effect, making the appearance look kinda shabby and cheap. Good idea but not so good execution. The keyboard is quite nice and it is a 4-core braid, and it's really rather nice and sturdy and has minimal microphonics. The plug and Y splitter all feel great and looks great. The only arguably cheap part of the cable is the male 2-pin connector on the cable. Otherwise, pretty good cable as always from Fiio. The case is amazingly strong and sturdy and feels like it can take mega punishment. But the fact is that it isn't portable. Rather, it is more like a tabletop drawer that you can just display your IEMs in, so you can't really bring them around, which kind of sucks. Next up, sound. The FP3 is a slightly V-shaped IEM, but nothing too extreme. There's a slight hint of a hottish treble, but overall it sounds like how I expect planar IEMs to sound. In between neutral and V-shaped with great extension on both bass and treble ends. Bass is nicely presented, not heavy slamming or muddy. Sub-bass extension here is pretty superb and has a hint of mid-bass rise, just slightly. The detail is pretty good as bass notes can be separated and heard clearly. Transients is a bit faster than what a DD would present usually, but it's acceptable. Superb detail and good balance with decent slam. Mids. Moving on to mid-range, well, mids are, well, mid. They aren't standout and isn't really terrible either, just nothing much to say about them. Vocal clarity is pretty strong, but it has the same issue with bass, being that the timbre sounds slightly unnatural. It's got a pretty good presentation, however fairly neutral and uncolored, but not particularly good in any aspect. It's just really average. But one thing that is really good, however, is that staging is fantastic. It's very well presented here, with very clear separation between instruments, and that clearly shown in the overall tone. And lastly, treble. Treble extends very well, giving a nice, airy and spacious presentation. It's only a little hot maybe due to the ear tips or tuning, but there's a bit of spikiness in the upper regions that some might find to be uncomfortable. And because of that, some people might experience a little bit of sibilance as well, but this can be mitigated through some tip rolling. When it comes to soundstage, the FP3 has a pretty good width and height, and the spatial reproduction is very good for an IEM. It is definitely one of the best in its class and price range. Next, depth and positioning. The depth and positioning is also ace. Technically very impressive. Its strong bass presentation is key to this, and the positioning is pinpoint and accurate thanks to the well-extended treble. And next up, let's compare the FP3 against some other IEMs in a similar price range. So firstly, versus the Kiwiears Canta. Now the Kiwiears Canta is a sleeper of an earphone, and it is quite unfortunate that many did not notice this IEM. It has a hybrid design, having one dynamic driver and two planar drivers, not the same one used in FP3. The ones here are the micro planars, which is kind of like in a BA shell or something like that. And it really delivers a tone not too dissimilar to how a hybrid in the form of a dynamic driver plus BA sounds. I think sonically, the Canta is superior tonally to the FP3, as it is quite a lovely pair for folks who really enjoy upper mids. It does not have the slight sibilance that the FP3 has. It's a bit smoother than the FP3. Comparatively, the FP3, while the mid-range isn't problematic, but it isn't special either, providing a very middling performance. Treble performance is also pretty similar between the two earphones as well. Lastly, I much prefer how the dynamic driver renders bass, as there is just a bit more explosiveness when it comes to dynamics on the Canta. The FP3 bass is rendered with a planar driver, and because of that, it isn't just as explosive sounding. Unless you adamantly want a full planar IEM, then go for the FP3. Otherwise, I personally would pick the Canta over it. Next, let's compare to another pure planar IEM, the LetSHouer S08. Priced very similarly is the LetSHouer S08. This is another planar option that the FP3 competes directly against. The S08 tames a lot of the upper mids, which was a common complaint in earlier planar IEMs, and it became a favorite amongst many for its slightly thicker planar signature. Compared to the FP3, I preferred the S08 as it is just a bit more musical sounding compared to the FP3. But some folks might like how the FP3 is styled with the wood faceplate, but for me, I think the sonics of the S08 agreed with me a little more than the FP3. Next up, some things I like and dislike about FP3. So some things that I like is that, well, I actually kind of like the wooden faceplate, despite it being covered in some sort of lacquer that makes it look a bit plasticky. This hasn't been done for a while, so it's quite nice in a sea of $3 ladyboy jewelry IEM looking things. Another thing is that I find it really comfortable in my ears. It just fits really nicely. And the last thing I like is that I like that Fiio is trying to make an IEM from planar drivers. It is a good first attempt. Next up, some things that I do not like. Sonically, while the FP3 is decent, it somehow does not stand out amongst close competition. Now, it's good. I'm not saying that it's bad, it's good, but it's a bit less unique compared to some of its competition. So for me, it's a bit forgettable, unfortunately. Next up, rating. So when it comes to packaging, as usual, it is really good from Fiio. They really thought about everything. They have many years of experience doing this, so packaging is fantastic. Based on the FP3, well, I give it a 6.5 out of 10 because this is pretty much standard planar tone bass. Good, but can benefit from having a bit more resolution. Mid-range is a 6.5 out of 10. It is again decent, but nothing truly stands out from it. It's good, but it just kind of gets lost in the mix amongst other competing products. And next, treble. Treble gets a 7 out of 10. It is airy with a slight roll off, and it's perhaps a bit grainy. Some might find it a bit sibilant, but I find it kind of okay. It's quite nice. Just if you are a bit more treble sensitive, it might rate a bit lower for you. Soundstage gets a 7. It is very decent in width and height and depth and positioning, so it's quite good. It's one of the stronger points of this IEM. And finally, the overall enjoyment factor. I give it a B+. While it isn't an IEM that stands out in its price range, the FP3 is a solid option from Fiio for its good build quality. It is overall a decent planar IEM from Fiio that has a unique aesthetic for fans who always wanted some wooden IEMs. Now you have an option for one that is rather pretty, but well, then again, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. The main concerns of the FP3 would be that competition in this category is very keen, with things like the LetSHouer S08 being a little more unique sounding by comparison. However, if you are looking for an entry-level, all-rounder planar IEM, then I think the FP3 will suit the bill. Once again, thank you so much for watching the Superchunk Super Audio Show. If you like this week's content, please leave a message down below telling me how much you like or do not like this review. And if you have any requests, you can let me know in the comment section down below. Hopefully I can get to review them. With that said, I hope to see you guys soon. And one more thing, I will be heading to CanJam NYC in February. So if you are there, do drop by and say hi. I'll be very pleased to meet everybody. It's always nice to catch up. With that said, I hope to see you guys soon.